Okay, so we're now going to go ahead and look at 3.1, which is graphing. And in 3.1, we're going to learn the basics of how to plot points, how to complete ordered pairs, and how to connect them together to form a line. So again, we're in 3.1, and we're going to begin with discussion of ordered pairs. And ordered pairs, the x always goes first. So when we look at ordered pairs, the x is going to go first. So it's x comma y. They're ordered pairs. If we were in three-dimensional space, like the world that we live in, it would be an ordered triplet, x, y, and z. But in this class and the later courses, unless you get on to calculus, we're going to focus only on ordered pairs. Okay, so we're going to be looking at ordered pairs. And ordered pairs always go x comma y. You're welcome. Okay. Now what we can do with ordered pairs is we can plot ordered pairs. So we're going to plot the following. So let's try and plot the following ordered pairs. How about 3, 5? How about -2, 4? About 0, 3? And how about -5, 0? So we're going to learn how to plot these points. Now, there is a difference between plot and graph. When I say graph, that means we connect them together and we make a line. Okay? When I say plot the points, I just find where they are on our coordinate system, and I put a dot where they belong. So let's plot these points. We're not going to connect them together. The only time that we connect them together is when we have the word graph involved. We put these on what's called our Cartesian or coordinate system. X is the left and right component, so positive x is to the right, negative x is to the left. Y is the up and down. So when you go up, it's positive y. When you go down, it's negative y. When we plot these ordered pairs, the x component goes first. A lot of times students might get these mixed up. So make sure you realize that the x component is going to go first here. So we're going to start with 3, 5. So 3, 5 means we go over 3 units, and then we're going to go up 5. So 3, 5 is going to be right about there. So we went forward 3 units, and we went up 5 units. -2, +4 would be back 2 units, and then up about 4 units. So -2, 4 would be up here. 0, 3 is going to be at 0 on the x-axis, and then we're going to go up 3. So 1, 2, 3. So 0, 3 is right there. And then finally, -5, 0 would be back 5 units and still staying on the x-axis. So that's going to be -5, 0 there. Okay? That's how you plot ordered pairs. And ordered pairs again go x, y. We're going to be working with ordered pairs a lot in this chapter, especially in the first few sections. So we learned how to plot those ordered pairs. Now let's talk about if something's a solution. So an ordered pair is a solution if both sides match when used in an equation. Okay, so an ordered pair is going to be a solution if when we plug that ordered pair in, both sides of the equation match. It's going to be like an identity, where the sides are the same. 3 equals 3, 5 equals 5, so on. So we're going to look at two examples of these, and we're going to see if they're a solution or not. We'll do one that is a solution, and we'll do one that is not a solution. So let's start off with this one. So is 5, 1 a solution to x plus y equals 6? So I want to see if this ordered pair is going to be a solution. Now, if it is a solution, when I plug my x and my y in, the sides should match up. Okay, and we can tell on this one, when we do that, it's going to be a solution. Because here's our ordered pair, x, y. And we're going to plug our values in. So we're going to plug in that 5 for the x. And we're going to plug in that 1 for the y. And then we know that 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 equals 6. So these are the same. So it is a solution. The solution just means it's true. So we plugged in that ordered pair. We labeled it x, y, so we know what went where. We plugged our values in. And we got the sides to match up. So this one is a solution. Okay? Here's one that's not a solution. Is 3, negative 4 a solution to y equals 5x? Okay, so we want to see if it's a solution or not. Well, we're going to plug our values in, and if the sides are the same, it is a solution. If they are different, it is not a solution. So here's my x, and here's my y. We're going to plug them in. So we're going to plug in that minus 4. We're going to plug in that 3 for the x there. And when I multiply through, I get minus 4 equals now 15. Are these the same? No, they're not equal. So then this is not a solution. Okay, so that's why that is not going to be a solution there. The sides have to match up for it to be a solution. Okay. So once we've seen what's a solution or not, we can also fill in the missing component. So on the next ones, I'm going to give you an equation, and I'm going to give you part of an ordered pair, and we're going to fill in the missing part of the ordered pair. So we're going to complete the ordered pair. And then we'll do a table, and then we'll learn how to graph these as well. So for the next one, we're simply going to complete the ordered pair. You're going to be given this equation, 3x plus 4y equals 7. And we're going to have an x value of 2. And I want you to find the y value. Okay, so you've got the x value. You've got to fill in the missing blank there. So we're going to complete the ordered pair. Well, what do we know? We know this 2, that's going to be your x value. So we're going to go ahead and plug our 2 in for x here. So we plugged our 2 in for x. And now we know 3 times 2 gives you a 6. We can move that 6 over with subtraction. And then we're left with 4y equals now 1. And we can finish this by dividing by 4. And so our answer would now be y equals 1/4. Okay, so that's going to be your answer. And we'll be able to fill in our ordered pair here. Now, most of the time, they're going to be whole numbers, but they can be fractions as well. All you do to finish out your ordered pair is you plug in whatever part you got, find the other part. In this case, we were given the x. We then had to plug it in and find the y value. We can also complete a table, and we can graph an equation. So we're going to complete the table and graph. And how about we use 2x plus y equals 0 here. And I'm going to make a table up. We're going to have to fill in the missing pieces. So I'm going to give you a partially completed table. Let's use, how about a negative? Well, yeah, we'll just use positive 1 here. Okay, and then we'll do one more. How about we do another y value? How about we use a negative 4? Okay, so these are going to be ordered pairs in a moment. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill in the missing boxes. Okay, and then we're going to graph them. So we've got to do each line individually. So we're going to start with the first one. And so the first one is if x equals 0. Okay, so if x equals 0, then what do we get for y? So let's plug in that 0 and let's see what we get. If I plug in x equals 0, so I've got 2x plus y equals 0. I'm going to plug in my 0 for the x. Right. And 2 times 0 is 0. So what am I left with? I'm left with y equals 0. So that takes care of that first missing part. Okay, so we just plug the x in, and we got the y value. We'll do the next one. For the next one, we're going to plug in y equals 2. So if I plug in y equals 2, then I get 2x plus y equals 0 again. So I'm going to plug in that 2. Move my 2 over. And now I get 2x equals negative 2. Divide by my 2, and now I've got negative 1. So there's another ordered pair. So depending upon which value you have, plug it in, and you get the other one. So for the next one, we're going to plug in, for the next piece here, we're going to plug in x equals 1. So positive 1. And if I plug in a positive 1, we've got 2 plus y equals 0. So I'm going to plug in a positive 1. Okay, 2 times 1 is still 2. And we'll move that 2 over. And now we've got y equals negative 2. Okay, and we've got one more to finish here. And the last one, we're going to plug in y equals negative 4. So we've got 2x plus y equals 0. Again, we're going to plug in our negative 4. And we're just solving it like any other equation. So add your 4. And we now have 2x equals 4. Divide by your 2. And what do we now get? We now get x equals 2. So is everyone okay with how we filled out that table? Now these are ordered pairs, and what do these actually look like as ordered pairs? So let's take these from our table and write them as ordered pairs. Well, our first one is 0, 0. Our second one is minus 1, 2. And then we've got 1, negative 2. And then our next ordered pair is 2, negative 4. Okay, so we can take our table and we can rewrite those as ordered pairs. Now we want to graph this line. So this is going to make a line. When we go to graph this line, plot our ordered pairs first, and then since we've got graph in there, we're going to connect them together. If it says graph, you connect them together. If it just says plot, then you don't have to do that. So we're going to plot our points and we're going to graph them by connecting them together. So let's go ahead now, write up our ordered pairs, just so we have them again. So we've got 0, 0, minus 1, 2, 1, negative 2, and 2, negative 4. This marker here, this is going to be our Cartesian or coordinate system. So let's go ahead now, plot our points, and these should make a straight line. I like to label them. You don't have to, but I do like to label our ordered pairs so we know where they're at. So this one is going to be right here at 0, 0. That's your origin. And we've got minus 1, positive 2. So that's back 1 and then up 1, 2 units. So that's going to be right about there. And we've got positive 1, negative 2. So that's forward 1 unit, down 2. So that makes it right about there. And then we've got our last one, which is 2, negative 4. So that's over 2 units. And then down about 4. When you go to graph things, you're going to have a grid. So your homework is going to have a grid. And that'll make it a lot easier. And then just connect these together with a ruler or a straight edge. And they should make a straight line. There's your line. The arrows on the end. And that is our equation. If it doesn't make a straight line, if I would have had a point here, then I would have known I made a mistake. Okay, so if you have a point clear up here, you made a mistake. They have to form a straight line. If they do not make a straight line, one or more of those points is wrong. So that's how we handle filling in and completing a table. Let's look at another one. Let's look at something where all we have is one of the values. So one variable. I'm going to make a table. We're going to have to fill in the table, but you're only going to have one of the values. So we're going to, again, complete the table and graph. And let's use, how about x equals 4? So we're going to make a table here. And I want us to go ahead now and fill in the missing pieces. So we're going to have to do each one of these. So each one's going to have its own x value. Now, look at our equation here. In our equation, we only have one variable. And that one variable is x. So it doesn't matter what the y part is. What is the x value going to be? On each case, x is stuck at what? X is going to be stuck at 4. So irregardless of what the y value is, my x value is always going to be what? 4. So if I have y equals 5, what's my x value? 4. Negative 2 for the y, what do I get for my x? 4. 8, what do I get? 4. 3, what do I get? 4. Because in this case, the x value is stuck. And the x value is stuck at 4. So it doesn't matter what the y value is, the x value is always going to be 4. So what would these look like as ordered pairs? Well, this would be 4, 5. This one would be 4, comma, negative 2. We've got 4, 8. And we've got 4, 3. When we graph them, they're going to make a line again. In this case, it's going to be a vertical line. When we do graph these, they will make a vertical line. So we'll plot our ordered pairs, and then we'll connect them together. So we've got 4, 5. So that is over 4 units. And up 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's right there at 4, 5. The next one's at 4, negative 2. So that's right there. The next one's at 4, 8. 3, 4, 5. Oh, let me go in the positive direction because 4, 8 will be up 8. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's going to be clear up here at 4, 8. And the last one's at 4, 3. So that's over 4 and then up 3. Now look, they should make a straight line. If they don't make a straight line, then you made a mistake. And we can connect these together. Mine's off a little bit because of my graphing, but it'll still make a line here. Should make, in this case, a vertical line. Plotted our ordered pairs. We then connected them together to graph the line here. So what we've learned so far is we've learned how to complete ordered pairs. We've learned how to graph equations when we have a table. Let's look at one more of these, and then we'll move on to the next section. 3.1 is a very, very short section. I think you'll find Chapter 3 is going to move a lot faster than Chapter 2. So let's look at one more of these. And again, we're going to complete the table and graph. I'm going to give you a table. Okay, so we're going to have, in this case, x values. And we're going to be finding the appropriate y value to go with it. Now, when we look at this one has not been solved for y. So it's not solved for any variable. The last one that we looked at, when we looked at this one was already solved for x, right? It was x equals a number. And we knew then that we filled in all the ordered pairs with an x equaling 4. This one is very similar, but it's not solved for y yet. So let's take our equation and let's solve it for y. We need to solve it for a variable. So we're going to solve this for y. So we have y minus 5 equals 0. We're going to add our 5. And now we've got y equals 5. So what do we know now about all of our ordered pairs here? Well, all these ordered pairs on the y part are going to have what now? Are going to have a y value of 5, right? Because that's what this is. We moved it over. We solved it for y. There's only one variable. One variable is the y. So it doesn't matter what we plug in for x. Y is always going to be at what now? 5. This one is not going to make a vertical line. It's going to make a horizontal line. So what do these look like as ordered pairs again? Minus 1, 5. 0, 5, 2, 5, and 4, 5. So is everyone okay with why these are all 5s? Why are the y values 5? Because y is fixed at the value what? 5. Now let's go ahead and graph it. And again, in your homework, when you go to graph things, you're going to have a grid. It'll be much easier than trying to freehand them like what I'm doing. So you do your homework. On all these that want you to graph it, there's always a picture where you can fill it in. So we've got negative 1, positive 5. So negative 1, positive 5 is right here. We've got 0, 5, which is right here. We've got 2, 5, which is here. And then finally, we've got 4, 5, which is here. We should be able to connect them together. And when we connect these together, they should make a straight line. If they do not make a straight line, you made a mistake. If it makes some type of a curve, you did something wrong. So you always want to go back and look and see. If you don't make a straight line, you made a mistake. So in this case, it comes out to be now a horizontal line just like that. So now we have covered all the parts of 3.1. We're now going to move on, and we're going to look now at 3.2. And part of 3.2 we've already done, which is the graphing part. The next part of 3.2 is the intercepts, and these are just ordered pairs. So some of 3.2 we've already done. We've talked about how to graph. Now we're going to look at intercepts. So I'm going to give you a graph here. And we're going to talk about intercepts, what they are, and how to label them. Okay, so draw a graph here for us to look at. We're going to find our intercepts from this picture. We're going to talk about what the intercepts are and how to find them. Okay, so this section talks about intercepts. Now, the intercepts are where the line touches the axis. So this is our x-axis here, and this is our y-axis up here. This line touches the graph on the x-axis and also the y-axis. So it has an x and it has a y-intercept. This point right here, let me find a better marker. So this point right here where I've got the circle at, that's going to be the x-intercept, because that's where it touches the x-axis. Okay, so that's going to be our x-intercept. We're going to label that as well. So this right here, that point is our x-intercept. As an ordered pair, because intercepts have to be labeled, as an ordered pair, this would be what? Well, if we read it off of our graph, it looks like the x part's 5, and the y part's going to be 0. So that's your x-intercept from the picture. Now, this graph also has a y-intercept. And the y-intercept is right here. And what would your y-intercept look like? As an ordered pair, your y-intercept would be 0 for the x, and then it's down 1, 2. So your y-intercept would be 0, negative 2. So we have an x-intercept, and we have a y-intercept. And what the intercepts are is where they cross the axis. So the x-intercept is where the line crosses the x-axis. So just so we have the definitions. So our x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. Where the line crosses the x-axis. And it's going to look like this. It's going to look like an ordered pair, and it's going to be some number, comma 0. Okay, so it's going to be a number, comma 0. That's where it crosses the x-axis. The y-intercept is going to be where the line crosses the y-axis. So this is going to be where it crosses the y-axis. And it would be 0, comma, some number. So your x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis. There are some graphs that just have one intercept. So this graph is only going to have one intercept. And we're going to find it. There's our picture. And this is going to be up about 3 units. And we're going to try to find our intercepts. We have to label them as an ordered pair. Well, let's talk about the x-intercept first. When we look at this graph, okay, this graph has no x-intercept. Why not? Well, that black line here, does it ever cross either the green axis? No, it doesn't, right? So it never crosses the x-axis here. So in this case, we have no x-intercept because this black line does not cross this green x-axis. So the x-intercept, we have none. No x-intercept. What about the y-intercept? Well, the y-intercept, we have one. And our y-intercept is right here. That's where it crosses the y-axis. So this would be our y-intercept, because that black line crosses the green y-axis here. So this would be our y-intercept. And what would it be as an ordered pair? Okay, as an ordered pair, look at how y-intercepts go. 0, comma, some number. Where's our y line at? Here. So it's at 3. So our y-intercept would be at 0, comma, 3. So this graph has no x-intercept, and it has a y-intercept of 0, 3. Okay. They can also have an intercept at 0, 0, and so they can both have the same intercept. If it crosses the origin, it has an x-intercept and a y-intercept of 0. So here's one of this one. So this is our line here, and we are again going to try to find our intercepts. And we're talking about the intercepts there, where they cross the axes. This one actually has 2 of them, so let's try to find the intercepts here. So that's what we're going to try to do, is find the intercepts. Now, look at where it crosses the axis. It crosses both of them right here at the origin, right? So that's our origin, and this is both intercepts here. And this is 0, 0. So it crosses both of the green axis lines at 0, 0. So your x-intercept is 0, 0, and your y-intercept is also 0, 0. Your x and your y-intercepts are both at 0, 0, and this is what's called the origin. 0, 0 is called the origin. All right, we'll do a little bit more about graphs, and then we'll take a short break. When we go to graph these, we kind of want to know what it's going to look like. So there are 4 different lines that you might encounter. Now, if you have both x and y, so if you have both an x and a y, the graph is going to be diagonal. So it's either going to look like one of these. If you've got both the x and the y, it's either going to look like this graph or this graph. So it's either going to look like this, or something like it, or it's going to look like this. So that's the first thing we notice. So if you have both an x and a y, the graph will be a diagonal line, and it's either going to look like something like this, okay, going up from left to right, or something like this going down from left to right. If you only have an x, then you will have a vertical line. So if the equation only has an x, it'll be a vertical line. And here's a quick example. It's spelled right here. Here's a quick example. X equals -3. Okay, so this equation only has the variable x. Okay, if it only has a variable x, it is going to be a vertical line. And so what would this look like, and how would we graph it? Well, this one's going to be very easy to graph. So we've got x equals -3. So remember, this is our x-axis. Where's x equaling a -3? Well, it's back here. So 1, 2, 3. We know that we only have the x part, and since we only have the x part, it's a vertical line. And that is then going to look like this. And we're going to graph more of these after the break, but I just wanted to kind of go over with you the 4 different outcomes. So if you have both the x and the y, you're going to get a diagonal line, either going up or going down. If you have an x only, then you're going to have a vertical line. And the last one is going to be if you only have a y part. So the last one is if the equation only has a y. It's going to be a horizontal line. So how about we look at y equals 2. How would we graph this one if y equals 2? Well, we know it's going to be a horizontal line. Draw our grid again. So if you only have a y component, only the y part, then it's going to come out to be a horizontal line. And remember, this is our y-axis. We want y equals 2, so that's here on the y-axis. We can now connect it with a line. It's going to be a horizontal line. So if we wanted to graph y equals 2, then it would look like this. Okay. And we're going to do a lot more of these after break. When we come back from break, I'm going to be giving you equations. And you're going to be graphing them by finding the intercepts and making a table. So let's go ahead now and take a short break, and we'll come back and we'll finish up this section. So let's meet back here at how about 9:35? So meet back here at about 9:35. That'll be about a 15-minute break, and we'll finish up this section.